My family took my 7-year-old to a fake therapist who told her no one could love a girl like you. It's for your own good, my parents said. My daughter came home asking if I still loved her. I didn't cry. I did this. The next day, their lives started to unravel. It started like any other quiet night. My husband David was on the couch, reading the paper with his glasses low on his nose. The TV hummed softly in the background, some show we weren't really watching. I was rinsing plates, humming without thinking. Our daughter, Ellie, sat cross-legged on the rug, drawing with a pile of markers and that focus only kids have. Everything ordinary. Then she said, "Mom, do you love me?" I laughed, automatic. What kind of question is that? Of course I do. She kept coloring. Okay, she said, almost like she was checking off a box. I went back to loading the dishwasher, thinking that was that. 7-year-olds ask random things all the time. But then, after a minute, would you still love me if I was bad? Something about her tone, smaller, careful, made me look over. Bad how? She didn't look up. She pressed the marker harder, outlining the same shape over and over until the paper started to tear. Like if I wasn't a good girl. If I was wrong inside, I turned off the faucet. Ellie. She glanced up, quick, like she'd been caught doing something shameful. Her eyes were shiny. I just wondered. The air changed. I walked over, knelt beside her. Hey, where's this coming from? She shook her head. Nowhere. Sweetheart, talk to me. Her lip wobbled. Sometimes people love you and then they don't. The lady said that happens when you don't try hard enough to be good. I felt a drop of water run from my hand to her drawing, spreading the marker line into a smear. What lady? She blinked fast, like she regretted saying it. Grandma's friend. The feelings lady. She helps me be better so people won't stop. Wait, what do you mean, she helps you? She talks to me. About how to make Grace feel happy, about how not to brag or laugh too loud. She says when I talk too much, people think I'm showing off. I heard David close his book behind me. What lady? He asked quietly. Ellie kept her eyes down. She's nice. She has toys in her office. She said Grandma brings kids who need help being loved again. Grandma took you? My voice cracked. Ellie nodded. And Aunt Vanessa. They said it's for my own good. I stood up too fast. The room tilted. When? Last weekend. And before that one time when you were at work, I walked to her backpack, heart pounding. She followed me with her eyes but didn't move. Inside, tucked in a side pocket, was a pastel business card. Cheryl Patterson, Child Confidence Coach, Serene Growth Wellness. Serene Growth. Vanessa's business. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number. A voicemail answered in a sing-song voice. Hi, this is Cheryl with Serene Growth Wellness, helping little ones shine with humility. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Mom? Ellie said softly. I looked at her. Her drawing now showed 2 girls, her and Grace, holding hands. Over them she'd written, "Be small so they love you." My throat closed. Where did you hear that? The lady says I should practice being small. She says it helps people keep loving me. I sat down beside her. Ellie, you don't ever have to be small for anyone. Not for me, not for Grandma, not for anyone. She studied me, uncertain, like she didn't know if I was telling the truth. But what if I don't change? What if they stop? They won't, I said, even though my voice came out rough. And if they do, then that's their problem. She hesitated. Maybe they're right, though. Maybe I'm not a good girl. And that's when she started crying. Not loud, just tears sliding down her face, silent and fast. I pulled her against me, feeling her small body shake. You're good. You're kind. You're perfect exactly as you are. David came over and crouched beside us. He put his hand on Ellie's back and looked at me like he was afraid to speak. I wiped her cheeks. You never have to see that woman again, okay? I promise. She nodded, but she still looked scared. I stood, grabbed my laptop, opened my banking app. There it was. SG Wellness, $320, $450, $280. Payments I hadn't made. I clicked dispute. My fingers trembled on the keys. David asked, "What's going on?" "They've been taking her there," I said. "Vanessa, Mom and Dad, paying that woman with my card." He stared at me. "What?" "She's been telling our daughter no one could love her." The words sounded foreign in my own mouth, like something that couldn't be real. Ellie sniffled, still pressed against my side. "Grandma said you'd say that because you have to." I looked down at her, those wet lashes, that small face still waiting for an answer. "No," I said quietly. "I say it because it's true." She clung to me, her fingers curling into my shirt. David put a hand on my shoulder. "What do we do?" I looked at the pastel business card on the table, the neat letters spelling out Serene Growth Wellness. The pink edges were soft, almost pretty. I wanted to tear it in half. "We end it," I said. And I meant all of it. The sessions, the secrets, the years of letting them decide who got to shine and who didn't. I held Ellie tighter. Her breathing slowed against me. In my head, the voicemail replayed, syrupy and bright, helping little ones shine with humility. They'd told my daughter she was unlovable. I pressed the card flat on the counter, the print smearing under my thumb. "Then," I said, mostly to myself, "we'll show her they were wrong." People like to say money changes a family. That's not true. It just shows you what they already were. I was the oldest, the reliable one. Vanessa was the golden child, the one who lit up a room. Dad said she was born to shine. I was built to make things work. It sounded like praise until I realized I was the maintenance crew for her spotlight. Growing up, she could burn dinner, skip curfew, flunk an exam, and it became a cute story. If I did anything wrong, it was a disappointment. When she failed out of community college, Mom said, "Vanessa's just creative." The world doesn't understand her kind. When I worked 2 jobs through mine, Dad said, "Tara's a bit rigid. She likes control." That was the pattern. I worked. She charmed. I built something steady. She borrowed it. By 30, I was the one with the house, the steady job in tech, the credit score people brag about. Vanessa had dreams and debt. And somehow, I was the one expected to keep the peace. It started small. A phone bill 1 month. A car payment the next. Then Mom needed a new water heater, and I paid that too. David warned me. "You're not buying peace," he said once. "You're renting it." He was right, of course. But peace, even temporary, felt worth something back then. Then Vanessa launched Serene Growth Wellness, a boutique/wellness center/yoga studio/whatever. She called it a place for people to feel better. I called it a financial sinkhole. She needed startup money. "Just a small loan," she said. $40,000 later, I had a handwritten contract and a promise she'd pay me back as soon as the business takes off. It never took off. But every time I looked at her, I saw the little sister I used to walk home from school, clutching my hand. So I let it go. Then came the girls. Ellie was born first. 6 months later, Grace arrived, Vanessa's daughter. At first, I thought it would be sweet. 2 cousins, growing up like sisters. It wasn't. Every compliment Ellie got became a criticism of Grace. "She's so confident," someone would say, and Vanessa would smile tight. Yes, she does love attention. If Ellie sang, Grace was overwhelmed. If Ellie won, Grace was discouraged. And my parents backed her up every time. "Don't rub it in, Tara," Mom said once when Ellie showed her an art ribbon. "Grace is sensitive." As if my 7-year-old had a PR problem. Looking back now, I can see the cracks forming, the resentment under all those polite smiles. I should have seen what was coming, but I didn't. I was too busy trying to be the good daughter, the calm one, the bridge. Vanessa came to me one afternoon with that bright, brittle grin of hers. "You know what would be perfect for Ellie and Grace?" she said. "Confidence coaching." My friend Cheryl just joined Serene Growth. She works with kids, helps them balance each other out. "Balance each other out," I repeated. "They're 7, Vanessa, not rivals." "It's not rivalry," she said. "It's emotional alignment." Cheryl's amazing. It sounded harmless. Play therapy, art projects, and it was family. What could go wrong? I said yes. Of course I said yes. I was still helping, still paying. I even handed her my card again. "Use this for the sessions," I told her. "Or supplies." Whatever I didn't know, that card was already the lifeline keeping her business afloat. Cheryl wasn't a therapist. She was a friend trying to get a wellness certification who needed clients to practice on. Vanessa called it mentoring. In reality, it was an experiment, and Ellie was the subject. When I saw the charges later, SG Wellness, neat little numbers stacked one after another, I thought they were for yoga classes or aromatherapy gifts for my parents. They'd been there for months, buried between mortgage transfers and groceries. The moment I realized what they really were, it felt like my stomach dropped straight through the floor. Every swipe, every quiet little payment I'd approved without thinking had bought another hour of someone teaching my daughter to hate herself. I could picture it now. Vanessa in her office, smiling for clients, while Cheryl told Ellie to practice being small. My parents probably sipping tea in the next room, proud of themselves for helping. And me? I was footing the bill. It wasn't 3 charges. It was dozens. Each one a reminder that I'd paid for my own child's undoing. I can still picture the first time Ellie changed. It wasn't dramatic. She just quieted. She stopped humming when she drew. She'd finish a picture and then ask, "Is it okay? Is it too much?" She started saying sorry before anything. Sorry for singing. Sorry for asking. Sorry for being. When I mentioned it to Mom, she smiled. "It's maturity, Tara." She's learning to be thoughtful, Vanessa called it progress. And I wanted to believe them, because believing them was easier than admitting I'd handed them the match that lit the fire. David tried to bring it up once, gently. "She's been different," he said. "Quieter." "She's growing up," I told him. "Kids go through phases." But even as I said it, I knew I was lying to both of us. Then the art ribbons stopped. The singing stopped. And that night, when she asked me if I still loved her, it all finally made sense. They hadn't been teaching her humility. They'd been teaching her to disappear. The morning after everything came out, I woke up already angry. Not shouting angry, steady angry. The kind that burns clean. By 8 a.m., I'd made coffee, opened my laptop, and started deleting things. Every transfer, every automatic payment, every quiet little thread they'd tied between my account and theirs. Mortgage help, the family fund, the monthly wellness membership for Mom. Gone, all of it. It felt weirdly satisfying, like spring cleaning but for betrayal. David leaned on the doorframe, watching. "You sure?" I hit confirm and said, "For the first time, yeah." Then I opened my bank's dispute page and flagged every charge from SG Wellness. "Unauthorized activity," I typed. "Services obtained without consent." It felt almost too easy, like pressing undo on a decade of bad habits. When I was done, I texted Vanessa one sentence. "Ellie won't be going to those sessions again, and you'll get nothing more from me." I put my phone face down and didn't check it for hours, partly out of principle, partly because I didn't trust myself not to throw it at a wall. At noon, I took Ellie to a real therapist. A woman with framed degrees, not motivational posters about vibrations. Ellie sat on the couch, twisting her sleeve. The therapist spoke softly to her, asked about the lady from before. Ellie said little, but when she did, her voice shook. Afterward, the therapist pulled me aside. "She's been told that being herself hurts people," she said. "That's not coaching. That's harm." It took everything I had not to cry right there. "She's 7, I said. "I know," the therapist replied, "but she'll recover, with the right protection." Protection? I could do that. And for once, doing something didn't mean paying someone else to make things worse. That night, I sat at the kitchen table printing things. Statements, screenshots, receipts. The name Serene Growth Wellness repeated down the page like a taunt. When I clicked on Vanessa's website, Cheryl's face smiled back at me. "Certified Child Growth Specialist," it said in pretty script. Underneath was a testimonial signed with my name. "My daughter Ellie absolutely loves her sessions with Cheryl. She's helped her become so much more confident. Tara Hart." They'd written it like I'd said it myself. I hadn't. Seeing my name there made my hands shake. I filled out a complaint form on the licensing board's website and attached everything: screenshots, charges, Cheryl's fake certification. No rant, no explanation, just proof. Paperwork. The weapon of the quiet. When I was done, I finally turned my phone face up. 5 missed calls from Vanessa. 2 from Mom. 1 from Dad. I ignored them all, which in this family probably counted as an act of war. They called again the next morning. I was making Ellie's lunch when my phone buzzed hard enough to rattle the counter. "You cut me off?" she shouted. "Are you insane?" "I have bills due. I used that card for supplies. Amazing. Still worried about her invoices while I was triaging childhood trauma." "You had no right using my card," I said. "Ellie's done." "I'm done. It was for her good," she snapped. "Mom and Dad agree. You're blowing this way out of proportion." Cheryl was helping her balance things balance, I repeated. "That's what you call it?" "She was helping her tone it down," Vanessa said, voice rising. "Grace can't even speak up in class because Ellie takes all the space." For a second, I couldn't breathe. "So that's what this was," I said quietly. "You couldn't stand her being brighter." "Don't twist my words," she said, too fast. "I just wanted things fair." "Fair," I repeated. "You don't need the money, Tara. Why make such a big deal over a few charges?" There it was, the family motto. You don't need it. "You used my child to make yours feel better," I said. "You think that's fair?" There was silence on the other end. Then she hung up. For a minute, I stood there staring at my reflection in the window. The funny part? I still wanted to believe she hadn't meant it. Then I remembered Ellie asking if I'd still love her if she was bad. I went to the drawer and pulled out the manila folder I hadn't opened in years, the one with the loan papers. The handwriting was neat. Serene Growth Wellness, business loan, $40,000. Vanessa's signature looped across the bottom, big and careless, like she'd been signing an autograph. The clause was clear. Borrower assumes personal liability if the business fails. I read it twice. $40,000, my most expensive lesson, or maybe my refund for peace and quiet. I called the attorney we'd used to buy the house. "Can you draft a demand letter?" I asked. "Amount?" $40,000. Plus interest. He didn't ask why. Maybe the tone of my voice said enough. For a few weeks, the house was calm. Ellie's laugh came back like a song she'd almost forgotten. She filled every blank corner with color. Paintings taped to the fridge, notes on the walls, hearts drawn in marker where she shouldn't have. Every time I saw one, I left it there. She was claiming space again. David said the quiet felt different now. "It's not heavy anymore," he told me one night. Then headlights cut across the living room wall. They didn't knock so much as attack the door. 3 sharp, angry hits. David stood, but I was already walking toward it. When I opened it, the cold hit first, then their voices. Mom. Dad. Vanessa. Mark trailing behind. Vanessa held the demand letter like a weapon. "You couldn't even call?" she said. "You had to humiliate me like this?" I stepped aside. "If you're going to yell, at least do it inside." The neighbors already think we're dramatic. They came in. My parents stiff and righteous, Vanessa shaking. Mom started first. "We came to talk sense into you." "Good luck," I said. "People have been trying for years." Dad's voice was firm, the way it used to be when I was 12 and wrong. "You've embarrassed this family. You've ruined your sister's business." I folded my arms. "She did that herself." I just stopped financing the cover-up. Vanessa's lip trembled. "You don't understand." I was trying to help Grace. I didn't want her to feel... "What?" I asked. "Small next to Ellie?" "She's sensitive," Mom said quickly. "You know how Grace is." "Yeah," I said. "Because she's been taught that being quiet makes her good. Just like Ellie was taught that being bright makes her bad." That silenced the room for a moment. Dad's jaw tightened. "You're twisting everything." I laughed softly. "You always say that when the truth sounds uglier than the lie." Vanessa snapped then. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." Cheryl was just supposed to guide her a little. "You know Ellie. She takes up all the air I stared at her." "She's 7, Vanessa." "She takes up air because she's breathing." Tears filled her eyes, but she kept going. "I only wanted Grace to have a chance too. She's always in Ellie's shadow." "Then teach your daughter to stand taller," I said. "You don't get to dim mine." Mom's voice broke. "Tara, please." "You've always had more. More money, more attention. You can afford to be generous." I felt something inside me settle. "You think this is about money?" They all stared at me, confused by my calm. "This isn't about the $40,000, I said. "It's about the day my daughter came home asking if I still loved her. Because someone you paid told her she didn't deserve to be loved." Mom started to cry. Vanessa wiped her face with the back of her hand. "It was supposed to help. It broke her," I said. "She was 7. You made her think being herself was wrong, and you call that help?" No one spoke. Even Dad's face crumpled a little. the way faces do when truth catches up to pride. I took a breath. I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. I can forgive a mistake. But this wasn't a mistake. It was envy pretending to be love. Vanessa whispered, "You hate me." I shook my head. No, I just finally believe you. For a second, nobody moved. Then David stepped into the doorway behind me. "I think you should go," he said. His voice was calm, final. They hesitated, and for once, they obeyed. When the door closed, the sound was softer than I expected, almost like peace. Weeks passed. The fraud office confirmed Cheryl had never been licensed. Serene Growth shut down. Vanessa sold her house to pay the debt. My parents covered the rest. No one called. Ellie healed. Real therapy helped. So did laughter, and paint under her fingernails, and being told she could take up all the space she needed. One morning, an envelope arrived. Debt satisfied in full. David read it, smiled. "Guess peace finally paid up." I smiled back. About time. That weekend, Ellie's painting won first place at the school art show. A burst of yellow and red, a sun taking up the whole page. "I made it big," she said. "You said I could." I hugged her, feeling that old ache finally fade. "Always," I said. They called it confidence coaching. I call it the day my daughter learned she was never too much, and I finally learned I was enough. So what do you think? Did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.